the fall of 1985, John Wilson placed his hands on the steering wheel of an old yellow school bus for the first time. His breath trembled, and his heart fluttered like a child on the first day of school. He had driven many types of vehicles in his life, delivery trucks, mail vans, even bread trucks. But this school bus was different. It carried small, precious lives. And though no one said it outright, he understood. This job was about more than just being on time. The first road he drove down was a dusty red dirt path winding through a remote area of rural Iowa. Small houses nestled between golden cornfields. That morning he picked up 9 children. The oldest was in 4th grade. The youngest hadn't even learned the alphabet. They sat quietly, curiously eyeing the new driver. He smiled gently and said, "Good morning, my name is John." A few weeks later, he had memorized each of their names. He knew which child was afraid of the rain, who liked sitting in the back seat, and who always forgot their homework. Every morning, he opened the creaky bus door by hand, greeted them with a warm hello, and waited for the patter of little feet. Climbing aboard, there was something comforting, almost sacred in that repeated rhythm, like a small daily ritual helping the kids start their day with a smile. Then came winter. The first snow blanketed the roads in white. John would get up at 4 a.m. to start the bus, place warming pads under the seats, scrape ice off the windshield, and carefully navigate each slippery hill. Some days the bus slid around corners. Other days the snow fell so heavily that the only thing visible was the dim glow of headlights. But not once did his students arrive late to school. "If their parents trust me with their children," he said, "then I have to drive with all my heart." John wasn't just a driver, he was a listener. One time, a boy named Ben got on the bus with dark circles under his eyes. He didn't speak for an entire week. John didn't pry. He simply left a peppermint on Ben's seat one morning and said, "I know there are days when you don't want to talk to anyone, but I'm here if you need me." Ben said nothing. But a few days later, he left behind a drawing, a picture of John with the school bus and a shaky little sentence, "You're the first grown-up who really sees me." John had a special habit. He remembered every child's birthday. Each year, on their special day, the child would find a small balloon tied to the seat rail and a handwritten card with their name. No one knew how he managed to remember them, all but it made every child smile. One little girl even teared up and said, "This is the first time someone outside my family remembered my birthday." The routine continued peacefully until the spring of 1997, when a sudden storm rolled in. John was on his route picking up students when the radio broadcasted a flash flood warning. Without hesitation, he turned the bus around and took a longer, safer road to higher ground with 22 kids on board. Just 15 minutes later, the original road was completely washed out. The water reached halfway up the bus tires, but not a single child was harmed. When the parents arrived, they hugged John and cried. The years passed. Those once little kids grew up and moved away. But one day, as he pulled up to a stop, he saw a man standing with a small boy. The man smiled and said, "I used to sit in the 3rd row. Now it's my son's turn." John laughed heartily, pride shining in his eyes. The faces from his journey had now passed on their place to a new generation. There were sad moments, too. A little girl named Lily, who always sat in the front row, suddenly passed away in an accident. The next day, John left her seat empty. No one was allowed to sit there. Each morning, he quietly placed a small flower on the cushion. No words were spoken, but all the children sat in silence, understanding that their driver was grieving. "Some journeys are short," he said, "but they leave a mark that lasts a lifetime." Eventually, John decided to retire after exactly 40 years behind the wheel. He thought it would be a normal day. But when he arrived at the school, he saw 2 long lines of people, not just the current students, but also many who had grown up, some with their own children now, all waving. They held up signs. "Thank you, Mr. John." Some hugged him, some cried. Others simply shook his hand with tearful eyes. A young woman leaned in and whispered, "You don't know this, but during the hardest years of my life, I still looked forward to mornings just to ride your bus. Bus number 14 was kept on school grounds as a memento. The front seat still had Lily's nameplate. A small plaque beside the bus read, "For 40 years of love and safety. Thank you, Mr. John." And John, the old driver with his worn cloth, cap, gentle eyes, and kind heart, had reached the end of his road, quietly, without fanfare, but leaving deep footprints in the memories of hundreds of children.